Hey everyone, this is Gregory Hart. This is the Heart to Heart podcast. Today I am joined for episode number 8 with Savanna Todd. She's an event planner and owns the business The Little Moments. Today we are going to discuss some of the services she can offer, some of the struggles she's having so far within the pandemic, and how she balances a home life with 2 young children while running her own small business. Thank you so much for joining me, Savanna. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good. It's nice to finally get to sit down and get together. I know you've been busy. You just had another little one, I hear.
Good. Yeah, she's 9 weeks now. She's getting big.
Jeez, you got to be a busy lady going on with COVID, 2 kids, and trying to run a business.
Yeah, it's definitely been busy.
Can you give me a little introduction of yourself, like what you've started, what you're doing so far, and how everything's been going so far with your business?
Yeah, for sure. So, like you said, 2 kids, so things are crazy busy. I do work full time in the HR industry. So I'm on a mat leave from that. So since my second daughter, Josephine's been born, I haven't really done much. I took a step back from social media just so that way I could pay more attention to my family, have my
Definitely.
focus be on them. But now that she is getting to that 3 month mark, I'm itching, I'm bored, I want to do something.
Yeah,
So I'm looking to get back into that. But like I said, it's been busy and I think it's going to be a slow start with COVID for sure.
for sure. When did you
Mhm,
start? So everyone knows the name of your company is The Little Moments.
mhm.
When did you start that?
So I actually started it back in 2015. I had just graduated from college. I went to school for public relations and event planning.
Okay.
I didn't do anything with public relations. I absolutely hated it. But I did a co-op while I was there, and I actually interned for an event planner. So I worked
Oh,
with her
nice.
for my whole second year, and then she actually hired me after I graduated. And
Nice.
that's where I fell in love with event planning. So when I graduated, she again hired me, but then a year after that, she met somebody and moved to California. So
Oh, wow.
she no longer needed me. So I liked that she was able to create her own schedule and she didn't have to answer to anybody. And so I wanted that for myself. And I actually started it out as Save the Date. I loved that name. I always knew that growing up, right? Like that's what you get when you're
For
sending
sure.
out wedding invitations. But a little something on the side, the acronym for Save the Date is actually STD.
Oh, yeah. Unless you really sit down and put that together. But yeah, I could see that, especially if you want to put it
Yeah,
as a jot form or a short form on anything, that's what you'd be putting down.
exactly. So I didn't even think that far in advance.
Yep.
And Ryan pointed it out to me, and I was not able to unsee that from that moment on. So then I
I could see
had
it.
my first daughter, Riley, and I was like, okay, I'm no longer in love with the logos that I had. I'm no longer in love with this business that I was trying to create. So I revamped the entire thing. And I kept saying after I had Riley, I want to take in these little moments. It's the little moments that matter. And so I just kind of ran with that. And that's kind of how I got to where I am.
Honestly, I save the date. Yes, I now I see why you decided to change it. But the little moments, even when I read it for the first time, like when I saw it come up on social media, you were releasing that you were changing the name or that you were just starting this specific brand now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, being when we were younger, the little moments you really didn't think about as
No,
much as you do now. Like it takes, I don't know if it takes certain things in your life to happen or what it happens to be, but you do start to appreciate the little things a lot more than you appreciated the big picture.
you do.
So I do. I love the name. It makes sense. One of the things it brings me back to is we hired Amanda Verhoeven to be our photographer for our wedding.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
She's so awesome to work with. And she had like this list of things on her website about things that you should try and remember throughout the day. And it was like, take 5 seconds after the ceremony just to be with your wife
Yeah,
or to be with your husband to have
yeah,
that moment. Because at the end of the day, it's going to go by so fast. It's one day. You're going to see a
yeah.
million people and you need to remember those little moments. And that's exactly how she said it. So it's a very cool name. It definitely hits people's heartstrings with certain things in their life for sure.
Yeah.
So what are you doing now? Are you back to starting to do event planning again, or you're still just trying to get back into the swing of things?
Just trying to get back into the swing of things. Joe is not quite sleeping through the night yet. I run on a couple of hours of sleep at most. So still trying to find that balance between two kids and getting back into that, like you said, the swing of things of working. But I don't do boredom well. I'm always doing something. I'm always doing something with the kids, or I'm doing something after, they're napping or they're sleeping. So I definitely want to get back into it. So with COVID, I think that's going to look like social media, right? Getting back out there, getting my face back out there, talking to people and doing exactly what we're doing right now, letting people know what it is I'm doing and what I want to do moving forward.
Now, pre being quite along in the pregnancy, like you were so keen to do something. You're like 9 months pregnant. You're like, yeah, I'm doing 2 weeks. After I asked you to record an episode, you're like, yeah, sure. And you're like, I'm doing 2 weeks. I'm like, maybe we should wait.
yeah, just in case.
But so when did you stop? When did you decide, you know what, I'm going to stop pushing. I need to take some time for myself. Now I need to start calming down, get ready to have a baby, and then get through that process?
To be honest, I think I kind of started to pull away last summer. And the reason I say that is because we were kind of in the midst of COVID. It was still new. We were going into a second wave. Things were locking down again. And I just wasn't happy with what I was going. I was stressed out. I was tired. I was pregnant, miserable. So I took a step back from social media completely. I deleted everything off of my phone. I told my friends and family, if you need to get a hold of me, I'll check my phone, periodically throughout the day. But call Ryan, text Ryan if you absolutely need me and you can't get me. And then kind of from that point on, I was never fully engaged. I would post things, I would, talk to people, I would still reach out to past clients, following up with them, seeing how they're doing. And I still took on clients, small projects, but I knew from that point, I didn't want to stress myself out. I was having some complications in my pregnancy too, and I didn't want to make that worse. So then come January, when I knew the clock was starting to tick and that window was shortening, I did post saying, I am expecting and I will be taking the next several weeks off. And that's exactly what I did. I, again, shut everything off of my social media. I stepped back completely, and I'm just kind of getting back into the swing of things now. And she's almost 3 months. So almost a year, I guess.
I think it was respectful for not only you, but the people you were planning for as well. Like,
absolutely.
It's not that you wouldn't put your all into it, but it's very hard for a woman that's pregnant, already has a child, has a Ryan, like you got enough to
yes, they're 3 kids.
But it's hard to try and put that on you, especially when it comes down to like a wedding. Like, you're going to be planning someone's special day. You, I know you as a person, you'd want to put your all into it, making sure it's perfect. You would be more stressed out than the bride.
Oh, absolutely.
That thing is going to be perfect. So I think it was good for you and for your customers, for you to take that time for yourself.
Absolutely. Like you said, a wedding, for example, that is one of the biggest moments in your life. And if I can't give it my all, and if I felt like I couldn't give it my all, then, like you said, it's not fair to the client. If you were my client, for example, I would never, ever want you to look back one day and go, why? 1, did I spend my money on that? 2, I wish I would have done this or that. Or 3, they were stressed out because my mind was elsewhere.
I'm telling you right now, for people that are listening or watching, I wish that I would have consulted someone like you at the beginning. We were just kind of like, it's not that big of a deal. We'll bring in caterers. We'll bring in the people who do chairs, people that do tables. And then it's like, oh, now we need linens. We need forks and knives, and we need decorations. And what are we going to do for decorations? I can barely decorate my house. How am I supposed to decorate a wedding venue? So like, we got the little things that you don't think about. Exactly. You definitely don't think about it. Like, there's no direct checklist for every single person's event. Like, they're all different.
And everybody's different.
Definitely. 100%. That brings me to a question for you. Can someone come to you with zero agenda?
Oh, 100%. You get that. That's actually more frequent than you would think.
Yeah.
Somebody knows.
I can believe that.
It's my birthday, or we're getting married. I think I want to do this. I think I want to do that, but my husband likes this, or no. It's so frequent. I almost prefer that.
Then it lets you kind of take charge from the very beginning.
Absolutely. And I can provide things and I can show things to clients that they would have never even thought of. Right. So I prefer that, but that's just me. Not all event planners prefer it that way either.
For sure. Now, is there a specific type of event is your favorite to plan?
Oh, birthdays, wholeheartedly.
Really?
I mean, like, oh, I love birthdays. If I could just do birthdays, and I hope, 10 years from now, when this is my full-time job, knock on wood, I would do birthdays. Anything from newborn, well, one to, 99, 100%. I love birthdays. Ryan and I have been together going on 10 years, which is insane.
Wow.
And I think I've thrown him 3 surprise birthdays just for fun.
Yeah, it's more fun.
Like I think I've thrown, it is. I think I've thrown all of my girlfriend's surprise parties. I love it. I cannot express seeing somebody walk in and seeing that surprise, or it's that day that's just them, right? Same with the wedding. It's that moment where it's just about you. You don't get that a lot. So to be able to give that to somebody, it warms my heart. It's the little moments.
Exactly, 100%. And the coolest thing about it is someone can just come to you and say, hey, like, I really want to throw my husband a surprise party. He's turning 40 years old or 30 years old, whatever it may be. And you can kind of just figure out what type of person he is and kind of just roll with it.
Yep. I love themed. So like Ryan is his birthday's coming up in June, and he loves to golf. And every year I always do a different theme. I will never duplicate a theme. There's too many out there. And it's everything from the cake to, decorating a picture wall, if that's what somebody wants. But yeah, it's the theme for me, and being able to sit down with a client, somebody that I maybe have never met, and find out exactly what they like or what their husband likes, and putting those like added details into it. So like Ryan likes to golf, like I said, and he is not a real dessert person, but he loves cake. So I always do a big cake dedicated to that theme. So this year we're going to do a big golf cake, things like that, right? The little touches that people wouldn't necessarily think about.
For sure. Now, with all those different things, do you have someone, like obviously being an event planner, you've got to have, you'll have like certain people that you use for certain events, and then they'll recommend you, you recommend them, like your cake decorators, your invitations, or I forget what the actual profession is called that does like all of the paper, like invitations, and you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. I can never pronounce it.
Calligrapher or...
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
But I'm assuming so, like if they had someone approach them saying, I'm making a birthday cake for this, I'm kind of stressed out about the whole thing. They recommend you recommend them. Do you do any of your own? Like, do you ever bake your own stuff or make your own invitations or do your own like balloon arches or stuff like that?
So baking, yes. But only for my like immediate friends and family, because then if I screw it up, then at least they're a little bit more understanding.
Yeah.
But cooking, baking, any of that I typically outsource.
Yep.
And then invitations and things like that. I have my own people. I love them. They're great. So I let them do it. There was something, what was the other thing you asked me? Balloons, yes. So I do a lot of the balloon arches and stuff myself. But again, I also have another team that I work with depending on the type of arch that they're looking for or how much they're looking for.
Yep.
I have, a team, but a lot of the time I will do it myself as well because it is easier. And in the long run, especially if you're working on a budget, it's cheaper.
Yeah. And I've noticed a lot of your Instagram posts, like when you do like I think it was someone turning 2.
Yeah, that was Riley.
So that arch was incredible. Like I thought maybe you had someone that does all that stuff. Like I wouldn't even know where to begin. I would have such a fit trying to attach all those balloons to that string in the middle. There's no way you could pay me to do a fucking balloon arch.
So in that display, actually, I did hire somebody to do it. Her name is Shannon. She's from Fab Decor. They're located out of London and they are phenomenal. I recommend them 11 out of 10 to anybody that comes to me. But surprisingly, the balloon arches are not as hard as they look. It's just time consuming. That's all. And maybe you can't have kids running around.
I don't have the attention. I have the attention span of the kid running around. There's no way I'm sitting there putting together a balloon arch for an hour.
Yeah. If you have 2 people, a balloon arch like that would take like 15 to 20 minutes.
That's all right.
Yeah.
If you know what you're doing, right?
If you know what you're doing. Yeah.
Now, let's say for weddings, for instance, just as an example,
Mm-hmm.
if someone came to you, they're just started, like they just got engaged, they have no idea where to start.
Yep.
If they get you to plan the event, can they get you to take care of everything?
Mm-hmm.
Like finding them a photographer, finding them a caterer, finding them all that stuff?
All of that. So I have 3 different packages. So I plan everything from the beginning to the end is my first package. That's my most expensive, obviously. And then I have a middle package where I'm going to meet with you 3 to 6 months before the event. So a wedding in this case. And then I have a package where I'm just day of coordination. So I'm just there on the day to coordinate with the vendors that are showing up to make sure that everything runs smoothly and that the bride and groom don't have to worry about anything. That's probably my most popular package for weddings. Right now, people are all about doing it themselves, and I think that's great. If people think they can or want to, and they have a support team around them on that day that allows them to do that, that's great.
Yep.
But again, like you've said, you don't know until you know. So when you're actually planning a wedding and you forget this or you forget that, it's easier to have somebody doing it all for you. So I have several packages, and one package includes coming right from the day that you get engaged to 1:00 when you're going home in your limo.
You need a fourth package that is where you sit down with couples that plan their whole wedding on their own. You sit down with them for 1 hour and you go through the checklist. What did you forget?
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually.
Like, this is what I got. This is what I got. Oh, why didn't you do this? Or you didn't do this.
Yeah.
That's my fear right now, is getting to the day and being like, how do you even forget that? But there's so many things that come up before that. It's crazy.
Well, and it's your wedding day. You shouldn't have to worry about those things, right? You want to be able to just watch your wife walk down the aisle, dance with her, eat, party, drink, do whatever, right?
Definitely.
That's what the day is about.
The third package of yours is very appealing because that day, like, it's one thing, like, we've got a lot of our wedding party is outrageously sized. But it was just like, do we want to have to pull one of them or one of our immediate parents to have to be worried about that shit all day? Or do you just want everyone to just be able to enjoy themselves and not worry about it?
Yeah. And that's why I get a lot of people coming to me for that day of coordination, because again, you want people to show up, eat, drink, party, and leave, not have to worry about a thing.
Yeah, that's very, very appealing. Mm-hmm. Now, one thing I like to do on here, and you'll be the third person that's done this so far, is I like to ask each individual guest 3 questions.
Okay.
The reason why I do it is to try and pull away from every person that comes on here, including myself. You get nervous, you get anxious, you talk as if you're in like an interview, and it's hard to get out of that question answer kind of feel, more of just have a good conversation and talk about real life shit that people have to go through and people deal with, especially with COVID and stuff. So I like to ask everyone 3 questions. Take as long as you want to think about it to answer. The first question is, are you currently happy with the life you're living right now?
That is a loaded question for one. Obviously, my first answer is yes. I am extremely happy and I'm extremely comfortable in the life that I'm living. I have a house with somebody that I've spent the last 10 years of my life with. I have 2 kids that are healthy and happy, that have more toys than a 2-year-old and a 3-month needs. I am working full-time, just currently on mat leave. And then I have my business, my passion on the side. So I am genuinely happy. I know there's definitely some materialistic things that I would like a bigger house, a newer computer, things like that.
Yep.
But I'm genuinely happy with where I am. But I also do believe that taking a step back from social media for the last several months has really helped with that too.
That opens up to start with you being happy and you looking at the materialistic things. It's awesome to hear that you're very happy and very appreciative of everything you have in your life. Everyone, if someone tells you that there's not anything in the world they want that they don't have, there's no way you're telling the truth. There's something that you want.
They're lying.
So it's very nice to hear you say that, like, and obviously you're happy with your two beautiful little girls, with
Mhm.
Ryan after 10 years. You have a house over you, you have a full-time job, you guys are successful in your careers, and you have a passion on the side. But it's nice to hear you say that you do have stuff that you want to still work towards. You still have those things that you really want, and you're going to keep
Yeah.
striving to get and to start being able to do your passion full time. As for
Mhm.
the social media thing, I have numerous friends that, like Ben, who did a podcast on here, he's a paramedic. He
Yeah.
completely deleted Facebook. He deleted Snapchat. He only has Instagram and literally
Yeah.
uses it because he's in certain groups, and they do use it for like I don't know, certain events that he's in. They just decide to use Instagram. That might be ours and the younger generation's way of using social media is the Instagram.
Yeah.
But he was blown away with just how much more he got accomplished in a day. Like, you don't
Absolutely.
realize that hour that you're glued to your screen scrolling through useless information because it's
Yeah.
just something to do. And now he's so much more productive in his day.
Absolutely. And for me, I was finding myself, I would take Riley downstairs to her playroom and she would play, and I would just scroll through like TikTok or scroll through Facebook. And I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, Riley's only going to be this young for not very long. And I'm sitting on my phone, not
It's
paying attention to her. And that's where it hurt me the most. And I didn't want that. I don't ever want my kids to feel like I'm not paying attention to them. But I mean, it is also normal to want to break, and it's
yeah, yeah,
okay to still pick up that phone and do those things.
definitely.
But I just felt like I was doing it more than I was comfortable doing it.
Social media, like, we are such a weird age group for cell phones, social media,
Yeah.
laptops, technology. Like, I remember being in like Annandale, and I've got like a slide phone with a keyboard, and I'm thinking it's the cat's
Yeah.
ass. And I've got like
Yeah.
double flip phone. I'm like, this technology is incredible. Then, like, by
Yeah.
the time we're in grade 9, we've got like the first iPhones released. Samsung's bringing out a touchscreen phone. Now we have a Zippo on our phone, and we've got all these little weird applications, and
Yeah.
just our whole high school, everyone had phones. Like,
Yep.
everyone had a cell phone. The thing that's such a big thing in the world right now is that everything gets recorded.
Yes.
Like all you see all over the news is people pulling out their phones the second something's happening and catching it on camera. I don't
Yeah.
remember that being as big of a problem when we were in school. Like,
I don't think it was. I think cell phones were still relatively new. Like, I mean, I don't even know how to work my phone with some of these apps right now. I have to call my brother. I'm like, what does this do? But I don't think it was like it is now back when we were in high school, and recording stuff wasn't like, I don't even think we had Snapchat,
no, I don't.
right?
No. We didn't have Snapchat.
So I think it's definitely evolved, and it evolved very, very fast.
It's just like our generation. It always weirds me out. Is like we know how to use the majority of social media things. Like, we know how to post, we know how to make a video, we know how to post on Instagram, we know how to take a Snapchat, we know how to use TikTok if we wanted to. Okay. We're at the generation where when our kids grow up, and I don't know how you feel, I'm not speaking for you, but I still want my kid to be 16 when he gets a phone.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, there's 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds making millions of dollars on TikTok.
Yeah. It's insane to me.
It blows my mind how crazy it is advanced and how
Yeah.
much it's taken over. Like, now certain like getting a bank account, now you can access your CRA with the mobile app of a bank,
Yeah.
or you can sign into something using Google, and some applications are so much more complicated to use if you don't have the social media to sign in to be able to use it.
Yeah. Oh,
Like, now we rely on it to access certain stuff.
it's ridiculous. And going back to the comment about, being 16 before they get a phone, I'm totally on board with that. But then on the flip side, I'm like, I don't want my girls going out and not being able to get a hold of me, or me not being able to get a hold of them. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't want you to have access to all of this stuff, but I need you to have access to it because I need to have access to you. And I think that there's so much going on in the world right now. And I think it's always been happening, just with social media now. People are talking about it. And Ryan and I are constantly having these conversations because we are stuck. Like, at what point do the girls get a phone? What point are they allowed to have social media? Do we allow them to have social media, but we have to have access to that? We need your passwords. And then when you're moved out of the house, you like, I don't know, like, what's the right thing to do anymore, because the world is changing so quickly.
And I don't know if there's even there's definitely not a book for it or a direct answer for it. That's for sure.
I would like one if it's out there.
Yeah, get a hold of me. I don't even have kids yet, but definitely send me a few copies because I'm going to need that shit. But the thing is, with our generation is now it's a fear. Now it's a fear for our kids not to have a phone in time.
Yeah.
Like when we were
fine.
Come back when the streetlights are on, run down to your friend's house around the corner, use their home phone if you need it.
Yeah. See you at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly. Now the fear is you don't give them a phone. You're the asshole parent when all the other kids have phones.
Yeah. You're the weird kid now.
I don't have a phone.
Yeah. It baffles my mind. I don't envy this generation growing up. I don't envy my brother or what our kids are going to go through. I'm not.
And I've said it numerous times. That generation gets nothing but shit on.
Oh, 100%. They can't do anything right. Everything they do is wrong.
Millennials this, millennials that, Gen Z, or whatever the heck all these things are that we're called. But the thing that blows my mind every time is there's people that raised those people. There's people that raised the people that raised those people. They started making cell phones. We weren't old enough to even know what, we used a cell phone at 17 years old, but we didn't make it. We didn't give the access in the palm of our hand. And it's not like it was their fault either. They're just doing what they thought. We're going in a black hole of.
I know.
But it's just one thing led to another. Now you have this generation that has to rely on it because they're so behind in times if they don't. Now you're having all these kids relying on social media's acceptance and likes and hearts and views and oh my gosh, you didn't get 100 likes on your post, like what a loser, or they like her and they don't like me. What? Like Tinder. Imagine being in high school and there was Tinder.
I've been with Ryan for so long now. I wouldn't know how to date. I would be awkward. I wouldn't even know how to talk to somebody. And now that everybody has access through Tinder and whatever else there probably is now, there's too much pressure.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I'm engaged to a woman I met on Tinder, but I also went to college and moved out of town and moved right away, moved out early, and I didn't have that person to settle down with when you guys did. But it was the way to meet someone when I was trying to date again.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Like Meg, she married somebody she met off of Tinder. I think they're great apps, but it just changes the dating world and social media as a whole. It's just completely changed everything.
Yeah, I agree.
It baffles me.
Well, now we have a guest. We have Riley here. So I just wanted to talk about some of the struggles that you had to deal with I'm assuming that you were still planning events when COVID hit last February.
Yes.
So absolutely. Did you have any extra procedures you had to go through to make sure that stuff could be planned safely, or did you worry about finding out for the guests what they were allowed to have and what the regulations would allow them to have?
Oh yeah. Better lack of a term, it was a shit show. Nobody knew what was going on. Nobody knew how serious or unserious COVID was. Nobody knew what was real and what wasn't. So out of that fear, a lot of people just ended up canceling. Gigi's downstairs. Would you like to go see Gigi? You want to go see Gigi? Okay, she's downstairs if you want to see her. She woke up at 6:30 and that's early for her.
Yeah.
She's tired. So a lot of people just canceled their events out of that fear. I had a baby shower end of March. So it was right at that cutoff, and the event still went on, but the venue that we were at just in that weekend had lost 22 events. 22. And then the event itself, half of the guests didn't come, which is completely understandable.
Yeah.
But it just went to show you how scared everybody was. And I think, that fear is still continuing. I think now you're seeing people are a little bit more frustrated than they are scared. The world's kind of divided in half right now. But I was still planning events. Unfortunately, a lot of my events were canceled, or they were just downsized, or they were moved outside, things like that. But trying to find that information about what you could have and what your limits were at first was a struggle. It was hard. Definitely. And you couldn't seem to get answers from anybody, or you would talk to one person and their answers were completely different than another person. So that's where having those connections in the industry is really, really helpful. And it's really important to never burn that bridge, because definitely. You never know when you need to rely on somebody else.
Yeah. Now, I don't know, like last February or last March 6th was my buck and doe.
Yes.
And the weekend after, the complex was shut down. Like all events were canceled.
Yeah. You snuck right in there.
I think it was Tara Dieger's buck and doe that ended up getting canceled right after the weekend because the whole thing was shut down.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy.
Just like one weekend, you got 220 people in a complex. The next weekend, no one has any idea what's going on. And I don't know if this is, maybe I just wasn't paying attention enough throughout COVID, but I don't think that anyone really still has a clear idea of what's going on. Like regulations change all the time. Maximum limits of people change all the time. Mm-hmm. The color system has different meanings all the time. So at first we were like, okay, if it hits green, we can have our wedding. Our wedding's 175 people. Original COVID rules.
Yeah.
Now the color system has to be completely removed for us to have a wedding of that size outside.
It's crazy.
Like we have to be done COVID.
Yeah. Because you've already postponed. We had, I think, 3 weddings last year that were postponed. One that went on and was just immediate friends and family, because they had already been waiting and they just didn't want to wait anymore. And I totally get that. It's crazy. And it depends on what news source you listen to. Like the news sources even vary. And, you listen to one doctor and they say this, and then you go to a different hospital and they say that. And I think that's where the frustration is coming from as well. Like, I think that's why, like, if you are entering Tillsonburg right now, there's anti-lockdown signs everywhere you look, because people are so done with what is happening. And it's tough. It's really tough. I am thankful that I haven't need to cancel or postpone any events that I personally have had. But I do feel for the people like yourself that have.
Yeah, we postponed again this year.
Yeah.
We just decided to move it.
Sorry, 1 second.
It's all right.
Okay. Take a deep breath. No whining. Good girl. There you go. When I got pregnant before I had Riley, I was that mom or that person that said, I'm never giving my kids electronics. She's not getting an iPad. She's not getting a phone. She doesn't need that shit. Here we are. She's on my phone.
They have their reasons.
Well, and sometimes I just need 5 minutes.
I hear you. I have a dog.
Yeah.
You know when people compare their dog to someone having a kid?
But dogs are like kids. They really, really are.
But they really are a lot easier.
Yes. Although I can't comment because I don't have a dog. I want one, but mine says I have to wait until the girls are older.
Well, I can throw my dog out the back door and he can go to the bathroom.
That's true. I have to change diapers all day.
I give him a toy. He's good for probably 6 hours.
I can
leave him at home.
That's true. I can't do that. Somebody would call CIS on me.
Oh, that's so funny. I've heard that so many times with someone comparing, like, oh yeah, like I have a dog, like they kept me up last night and they chewed the couch. And it's like, holy hell, you should not have a kid right now. Like, I don't have a kid, but I sure as hell can't have one right now. There's no way. I'm gonna figure myself out.
talking to Ryan, I think it was yesterday. I said, I looked at him dead serious in the face and I said, I want a dog. And he looked at me and he said, no, you're not getting a dog. It's not happening. Okay, honey. Here. Do you want to go? Uncle Preston's downstairs too.
Back to the fact that I moved my wedding again. So my wedding will now be in 2022.
Yep.
We just don't really want to have to worry about it. Like,
yeah, and you want the people
world
that
to
you
be
want at
rolling.
your wedding. There's nothing wrong with that.
We want bachelor and bachelorette parties. We want like a bridal shower and
traditional things that go along with having that. Yeah.
And I looked at her and like, I'm not hating on anyone else that decided to lower their wedding to a lower amount of people, but if we can't wait another year to get married, we probably shouldn't get married.
Yeah.
And that's not everyone, because everyone's just kind of like, I love this date or this date means something, but we didn't have any of those things.
No.
So
yeah.
anyway.
And I was gonna say something. I lost my train of thought.
That's all right. We literally got through one question. So the second question was, would you change anything in your life right now other than COVID?
Other than COVID, again, the only things that I would change would be materialistic things. I want a bigger house. I want a yard. There are things that I want out of life,
Yep.
But I'm not able to get them yet. I just have to keep working towards them, like you said earlier. But no, I don't think that there's anything that I would change in my life right now. Ask me next week. It might be different.
I've interviewed a couple small businesses, and I interviewed people that have certain passions and decided to jump in the deep end on pursuing the things that make them happy in life. And one thing I like to ask them is, did anything significant happen in your life for you to just to say, you know, I'm going to take this leap. I'm going to put this money and my time into this and start doing the little moments?
You know, the only thing that I can really think of is anytime somebody asks me that question or why I went into business for myself, is that internship. I had a really, really great relationship. Her name was Jennifer. She was phenomenal. Her business was successful. Where I was in my life and what I wanted or what I knew I wanted to get out of life was where she was. And that was huge for me. So I wanted that. And then fast forward, now I have two beautiful girls and I want them to be able to see that somebody can do it for themselves if they want that option. And, you know, if you work hard enough that you can get those things out of life. So I wouldn't say there was any significant event or anything like that. But again, that internship was huge for me. That hands-on experience and then having that relationship with my mentor was significant for sure.
And I also think that's big for you to be able to see what a successful version of that type of career can bring.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, it's difficult too, because I was with her for a year following. So I saw the ups and downs of the industry too, which I think was extremely important, because I think people think, oh, event planner, oh, they plan these big events, they get these huge payouts and they live in these big fancy houses when they're successful, but that's not always the case, right? Like COVID, there's waves of things and there's times of the year where it's busier than others. And that's also one of the reasons why I do work a full-time job, because those ups and downs, sometimes the downs are pretty bad. So again, to be able to see that firsthand was huge. I actually had a co-op student last year, and she thought she wanted to go into event planning too. And so I was very real with her, the way that my mentor was. And I said, you know, this is how it works. And I had her do a lot of my paperwork and I had her do a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, because it's not always show up to a venue and decorate and say hi to people, right? There's a lot of behind the scenes that nobody thinks about.
That could also be a real pain in the ass.
Nobody wants
weather
to do
changes. Huh?
I said nobody wants to do paperwork.
No, exactly. But like weather changes, event places closing. Like I remember a couple of years ago, I forget who was getting married, but their venue, I think it was a barn.
I think it was Shelby.
Was it Shelby? Was it that Purple Farm thing? Place?
Purple Hill.
And now it's back open, but they did separate and they sold the business. And I had many friends that
Yeah.
now had to start over, and like you would get that call, like, what are we going to do? And now you're rushing to find a venue and then
Yeah,
call every single vendor to make sure that they can do that specific location. Find out the
absolutely.
price changes of getting those vendors to that location, and all
Oh
these
yeah.
little things that unless you really sat down and thought hard about, and I'm still only getting a fraction of what actually would be a pain in the ass about it. But
Yeah.
that's all I really know about it. And that's why you get a professional to come in and do it.
Absolutely. It takes that worry completely off of you. Well, I shouldn't say completely, because you're still going to be stressed over the little things, or nervous or worried, and those things are natural. But yeah, that's why people like us exist.
Honestly, like and this isn't just like podcast aside, people
Mhm.
listen to this, people don't listen to this.
Yeah.
Knowing you and knowing you for as long as I have, we've had our moments where we hung out every day as kids. We
Yep.
had our breaks in between, had different cliques,
Yep.
always talked to each other the same way with the same respect, regardless of what was going on in each other's lives. We
Absolutely.
always knew the big things in each other's lives. I'll always have you and Shelby at every big event of mine,
Yeah.
and Kevin,
Yep.
and Nathaniel and Josh are in my wedding. Like it's those
Yeah.
friendships you made along the way that really define who you are as a person, in
Yeah.
my opinion. But I can see you not only being very successful with this when your
Mhm.
children are a little older. So you like, I think it can happen throughout the way, but obviously it's going to take time. It's not going to happen
Yeah.
overnight.
No, gosh, no.
But with the person you are, you were
Mhm.
always like, things get done in order. This is how we
Yeah.
do stuff. This is like, you were so organized. Your notes were so
Yeah.
neat. You had your process with things, and I can see this
Yeah.
being a very, very positive thing for you. And I think
Yeah.
that
Thank you.
I think it's going to be amazing.
Thank you. I'm definitely excited, and I'm interested to see where I'm going to be in, 10, 15 years. But I do think I come by it naturally. My mom, she's 100% the same way.
Do you have a goal for 10 years from now for this business?
I would like to be doing it full time in 10 years. My ultimate goal is to have a storefront. So I would like to have, a store if we're in Tilsonburg at that time on Broadway, where people can come in and see setups where we can, do mock setups. And I want to be a one-stop shop. I want somebody to be able to come to me, and I have, I have venues, I have photographers, I have decorations, I have everything that you can come into me, and I'm a one-stop shop, and that's all you need. That is my ultimate dream. That's what I like when I'm like 50 or 60. That's what I want.
Now, do you believe that goal is achievable in Tilsonburg?
Yes, it can be, for sure. There's definitely a market in Tilsonburg. We're up to what? Oh my gosh, I don't even know what our population is anymore.
16 something, or?
Yeah. But it's definitely there, but it's marketing the right way, and it's also pricing it the right way, right? With that being said, I do also enjoy traveling. So I will travel up to a certain kilometers. Like I will go to Windsor, Toronto. The change of pace and scenery is nice. So being able to have packages and pricing for that type of audience too is big. So I would like to say yes right now, but that could change.
And I didn't, and I just wanted to rephrase. I didn't say that as if I didn't think Tilsonburg was good enough to do that.
No.
I just wanted to know, because I know, like with her, the girl that you were working with, she was very successful. She moved to California. Now, the way I would look at that is California is good climate majority of the year.
Yeah.
So you can have more of those weddings in the winter, which would have been our winter, which they still happen, but they're definitely fewer.
Yes.
I just didn't know if a bigger city was your type of scene, or I know I wouldn't want to live in a big city, so I don't know if that's the way you feel, but
oh yeah, no. Tilsonburg is almost getting too big for me.
but the convenience of having that storefront, as long as word of mouth, which is huge, regardless of what you're doing. That's the same with this podcast.
Oh,
the more
yeah.
people that talk about it, the more people that are going to watch it, or at least give it a chance and see if it's their type of thing.
Yeah.
You have your friend group in Tilsonburg, which spiders out like an ancestry tree. But
true.
as soon as you've hit those people and they know what you're capable of,
Yeah.
they'll usually use you for every event if they were happy. And now you have the events of a person's life.
Yeah.
So that's
really
cool.
The market is definitely there. It's for sure. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's very exciting. We're at 1 hour and 16 minutes now.
Oh, geez.
Riley's doing really well sitting there.
Yeah.
She's probably eager to get her mom back.
Yes.
So regardless, I really, really appreciate you coming on here. I'm super stoked to see where you end up in the next 5, 10, 15 years. It'll be really awesome to see where this goes. Eventually, I would like to do every person I've interviewed so far in person just to get that
Yeah.
more of bounce off each other kind of feel. So when
Sure.
COVID allows it, hopefully you'd be down to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I really, really appreciate you taking the time today, especially with how busy you are, trying to get back into your normal routine. Thanks so much for taking the time.
No, thank you for having me. It was great talking to you. I was a little nervous, but now I feel good.
It's not, it's a weird feeling when you hop in. I always get like the shakes, like as if I'm cold.
Yeah.
But once you start talking, it's more of just let's have a conversation, and it's slowly getting better into the just chat. Like everyone's a real person, everyone has their shit, everyone has their problems. Let's talk
Yeah.
about it, and I think that's
Very
where I feel.
relaxed.
But anyway, I thanks so much for coming on, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks, Savannah.
Okay, bye.
Bye.